Just wanted to know, like, your top players, how they have performed this year based on it again. And I fully have always said, like, Pro Football Focus is just a singular tool in your toolbox. It's not, it's not everything. It's something you can look at. But if you're going to look at it and you're going to celebrate it, as Jalen Johnson is graded as the highest cover corner in the league last year, then you can't run from it this year. And I just was interested to see, and I'm not trying to tell you that the coach shouldn't have been fired. The coordinator was a bad hire. The head coach, I told you, should have been, my opinion was it should have been removed at the end of last year for reasons that I've gone through 1,000 times. But are the players also holding up their end of the bargain? And
so you're talking about, like, I'm looking at Spot Track right now, and DJ Moore is your highest paid player on the Chicago Bears.
Well, if you look at
$110 million.
And if you look at and
is he living up to that contract?
By the way, I'm not looking to move on from any of these guys. What I'm asking them to do is play at the level that is the reason why they were handsomely compensated. DJ, I believe this is his lowest graded season, courtesy of Pro Football Focus.
Okay, but explain to me what all they are grading, because my first reaction to you when you said that was, well, is that DJ's fault that Caleb's underthrowing him and overthrowing him, but DJ's also had more drops than I remember.
Tyler, how do they go about determining how they grade players?
So I can't speak to the exact science of it, but I know that there's certain components where, all right, let's say a quarterback throws a ball and it just hits off of a defensive back's hands, should have been intercepted. That is what is classified as a turnover-worthy play. That goes there. If a receiver drops a ball, or remember the Keenan Allen play against the Vikings, down the sideline, and it just misses by inches, right?
Yeah.
That goes into the category of what's called for Caleb a big-time throw.
Right.
So that is a positive for his grade, whereas if he threw a ball and it was in and out of someone's hands of a defensive back, that's a negative on his grade. So it's more of the
So there's
eye
nuance.
Test. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So DJ Moore is the highest paid player on the team. So they do adjust it for their own mistakes as well. And where does DJ Moore rank now?
He has a 70.6 overall offensive grade, which would be his lowest courtesy or using Pro Football Focus as your metric. Now, again, I'm not suggesting to you, DJ's always been my favorite player on this team. But you have to ask the question, is it only the coaches and their inadequacies? Is that the only reason why this team is struggling? And I refuse to believe that, because I still believe it's a players' league. I think coaches get too much credit when things are going well. I think they get too much blame when things are going poorly. I think at the end of the day, you send in a crappy play, really good players can make a positive gain out of a crappy call. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, so I think that, so I was just looking at some of their top players. Jalen has not had the same year this year that he had last year. Cole Kmet is what was he ranked? 25th overall in terms of tight ends on Pro Football Focus. The moral of my story here is
Keenan Allen,
that
who is your third highest paid player,
has played better lately for sure, but
whoa with the drops.
You've got Montez Sweat, who's got 4 sacks on the season, and
Second
I understand
highest paid.
He's been playing through injury. I get all of it. Again, my thought here is now that the coaches are gone, does everything magically get better? And if it does, then where was the performance prior to relieving the head coach of his duties? Because regardless of who's coaching you, you should still be out there being paid the way that you are, playing close to your average yearly production. Now, that doesn't mean your catches or your yardage are going to be the same, but your overall performance as it's graded by certain metrics should be in line with who you've been for the last 5, 6, 7 years. And that's what I would be looking for in the final 5 games. How are the players going to play? Now that you've removed the coaches and all of that nonsense has been taken out of the building, are guys now going to start, as Carm said, you're going to progress to your mean and how you've normally played?
Well, there were definitely hints at that. Even Jalen Johnson's the one who said it, that he said he would stay late after practice. He'd be
hard worker,
looking at film. And teammates would walk by him and say, "What are you doing still here? Aren't you leaving?" And he said, "No, man, I got to look down. I got to break some more film down. I got to see what's going on." He knows when he's not playing his best, right? And his teammates' response is, he says, "Well, you should stay. You should stick around. Why don't you join me? Why don't you here, have a seat next to me?" "No, I got to go pick up my daughter from school."
Well, that's what I've admired most about Jalen Johnson and DJ Moore, because when you go to training camp, you watch them. They're two of the hardest working guys on the team, if not the two hardest working guys on the team. Not only are they ridiculously talented, but they're also two of the hardest working guys.
Cole Kmet said the same thing. Guys are not going all out in practice. So before this became Matt Eberflus's fault, there were hints that the players were not giving 100%.
And that's where my gripe has been all along.
We just forgot about it.
There has been, you can have more than one conversation at the same time. This coaching staff is not adequate enough. These players need to perform at a higher level. And I've always thought, and again, an old guy in the room, that you're motivated internally and you're playing for yourself and your teammates, not just your coach. Like, you're playing for the guy you're lined up next to. You're playing for the guy that plays on defense. If you're an offensive player, you're playing for one another, not just for this coach. And my hope is in the final 5 games, if this is what it has taken for everyone to get back to playing at the level that everyone has expected them to play at, then maybe that's a good sign going forward into 2025. But I failed to believe. I don't believe that this has only been a coaching issue. I'm not ignoring the coaching issue. But where has the performance from some of your top players been? It hasn't been there. So you can have more than one thought here, and there can be more than one explanation for why you're 4-8. I just don't think you remove coaches and magically you become that team that everyone hoped you would be. Maybe you will be if, in fact, you go back to playing the way that you played in previous years.
So is that scheme? Is it effort? Is it just the mental?
It's all of it.
Preparation that goes into...
Well, defensively, it's the same scheme they've run for 3 years now.
You would think.
Offensively, it's the same offense, but Thomas Brown has this offense looks more like McVay than the Shane Waldron version of the McVay offense. You see more motion, you see more, combination routes, you see some better stuff, but they don't run the ball well. They haven't gotten off to good starts. They're really good when they play from the trail position offensively. But coming out of the gates, there was nothing. I'm breaking down the film of the Detroit game. There was nothing I could grab onto offensively. They went 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 4 and out, 6 and out, halftime. There was nothing that I could grab a hold of to put on like a reel to say, this is good stuff.
Right.
So, the change was made weeks ago, but the progress, there has been significant progress. A lot of it's with the quarterback, but I don't know. When you ask the question, is it scheme? What is it? All I can tell you is they had 34 total yards of net offense in the first half against Detroit, running Thomas Brown's version of the offense versus the Shane Waldron version of the offense. Couldn't run the ball, couldn't do anything in the passing game. I think one of the first downs they had was a penalty, or whatever the case may be. There was nothing to grab onto in the first half of that game.
So how much, though, is that also, stay on the offensive side of the ball, how much is that also Caleb's development? And it was a slow go for a while there. And the players said that they thought that they put too much on Caleb's plate, that they basically gave him the whole playbook.
I agree with that. I have been one that has said I think that they needed to simplify things, especially when things go haywire. We saw this after the Texans game and then the Colts game, and it was like something's broken. We need to reset. What'd they do? I think they simplified some things. They played the Rams, and while there weren't the explosive pass plays down the field, what there was really good, clean play by the quarterback. The following week, he's building a little bit of confidence. He plays clean. Then he throws for 300 yards against the Panthers. Now the downfield element is part of the equation. They go to London, and he played a game as clean and as good, had the interception I'm not overlooking that. But every other play that I saw him play was as clean and as efficient as a quarterback's played in a Bears uniform as far back as I can remember. Then they got off track again. They come out of the bye. He played really well in the fourth quarter, but the first 3 quarters, there was nothing there. The Cardinals game, there was nothing there. He was trying to do too much. The Patriots game, they scored 3 points against a bad Patriots team, and then they had to reset again. You fire your offense coordinator. I think you simplified things. You took some of his autonomy away from him, not as a punishment.
Well, they took the downfield checks away, and they said 1, 2,
yes,
get rid of it,
or tuck and go.
Run. Exactly.
That to me is simplifying the offense. It's not a. It's not. You're not punishing the quarterback. Thomas Brown said in his initial press conference, "My job is to make life as easy as possible on the quarterback," and that's what he did. And I think that there has been some growth. And if you watch, it's not perfect. In the first half, Caleb misses a read here. He has an inaccurate throw over here. Second half, he's out there making plays. Like, I see a player that's got special qualities when I watch him play. But the bulk of the offense at this point, as it's better, much of it has come when you find yourself playing from behind, and then there's nothing to lose, and you play free and easy. This team needs to come out and be more effective and more efficient offensively as the game begins. Like, that's when it's hard. You know, it's easy when you're down 16 or you're down 24 to 10 with a minute to go in the third quarter. Then you play loose and carefree and easy. But what about when you start the game in your first several drives? Against on Thanksgiving Day, they went 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 4 and out, 6 and out. And then the half came here.
Right.
So while I can acknowledge progress and I can point it out, they still have a long way to go being a complete offense. And I think that it's more than coaching. I think that, this group of players, I hope now that they will shoulder the accountability and the responsibility that, the coaching staff has been moved out of the building for the most part, the head coach, and now you've got an offensive coordinator you connect with. My hope is over the next 5 games, you start to see this entire group of players play the way that they played at times that made them some of the more well-thought-of players in the National Football League.
Right.
It's no coincidence, Peg, that nobody on that, and I know there is an element of popularity in the Pro Bowl voting. There's no coincidence that not a single guy's in the top 10.
Right.
None of them have played well enough to be on a Pro Bowl team.
No.
None of them. And the only point I'm making is I think that needs to be part of the narrative, as well as, hey, this team was poorly coached as well. And my hope is now that you will see these players play to the level of expectation in the final 5 games.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
Well, I totally agree with you that I think that the players were given a bit of a free pass because we were told that there were issues, that there were cracks for sure in that locker room, and not in terms of whether or not they were supporting Matt Eberflus. There were cracks in terms of effort. I mean, that they came out of the bye. You cannot tell me that was not all about a lack of effort. That was awful.
Well, even more so the Cardinal game where they got trucked. And then I thought the worst loss of the season was the Patriots game. You're at home.
Oh, my gosh.
Against an inferior Patriots team, and they dominate you 19-3. To me, you could call the Commanders' loss a more dramatic loss. I thought the most demoralizing loss of the season was being at home in front of your hometown fans and losing to that Patriots team 19-3.
Right.
So
lots of cracks for sure going on with the Bears. But now that they've spatchcocked 1-1.
I don't know what that means.
That's just
spackled.
Yeah, like speckling.
Yeah.
But you do it with a bird.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you spatchcock them. You break the hip bones and.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's I got it. That's part of the Thanksgiving or
yes, with the turkey.
preparation.
Yeah, sure. You spatchcock it. But no, yeah, there's definitely other issues now that the curtain has been lifted. Let's take a look and see exactly where the other issues lie with this team. So you're exactly right.
I mean, am I crazy thinking this way, Meller?
No.
Tyler, Peggy?
I honestly, I'm with you. It's like, okay, they got what they wanted.
Has this only been a coaching issue?
Everyone got what they wanted. Flus is gone. Now what? Now what? Was it just Flus? Or is it going to reveal that there were some other issues with this team? We knew that there were roster issues before. but we kind of forgot about them for a while because the coaching decisions and the mismanagement of the clock took our attention away.
Right.
We knew there were issues in the locker room.
I agree with you, but the only thing I'm concerned about is I don't even if they bounce back, they play well, I don't know what as a fan, I don't know what Ryan Poles is supposed to take from that, because you quit on the team when Eberflus was head coach, if that's the case. If they bounce back and play really well over these next 5 games, is that a Thomas Brown? Is that a feather in his cap?
I don't even know. It's a great question, Jeff.
Yeah.
Or a great thought,
I want them to play better so that I feel better about the team going forward. But if they do, it's also going to leave a really bad taste in my mouth.
Well,
And
it's also
also
going to be an indictment of them.
Yes.
I also fear that if they do play better, everyone's going to fall in love with Thomas Brown. And look at Thomas Brown. It's like, oh my gosh, my new boyfriend is such a better guy than the last one I dated. But it doesn't mean he's not still an idiot. There's better ones out there. And I don't settle just because.
I think we've got some deep-seated issues with Peggy that we have. We might have to get after
Some boyfriend issues
later in the show here.
Look, and my point is that I'm not going to take anything in the final 5 games as some sort of grand statement. I just want look, you got what you wanted now. Now go back out there and play the way that we've expected you to play throughout the course of the 2024 season, the way that we've seen you play.
All right.
There's a lot of guys on that roster that are really good football players that you can put on the film, and I would have to believe they would sit there with you and say, yeah, I haven't been as good as I needed to be or as good as I was at times last year.